Hey,
What's going on?
Jack.
Hey,
What's up, man?
What's up, Jack?
Dude, been too long. How you doing?
I know. Good. Happy New Year.
Happy fucking New Year, brother. Sorry about the link.
No worries.
I just sent you a Telegram link. It's like, what the hell?
I heard you moved to New York.
Not quite. It's in the books though. Next couple of months. Honestly, we'll pull the trigger really whenever we're ready to. I mean, the only thing really holding us back right now is all the shit we have in this house. So like once we figure out how to get rid of that, have like a yard sale, we're fine. We're flying out actually end of this month. Destiny, my wife, is doing a guest spot at a tattoo shop. So that'll be our final like trial run. And then
Love it.
then it's whenever we want to go, we go.
Big moves.
Yeah, I'll be in your area then. Or closer at least.
You're Boston, right, Jack?
Yeah. Good old.
Nice shirt and hat, brother.
Thank you. Compliments to you for the hat. I think I don't know who gave me the shirt. I think it might have been Genuine Jack.
Either way, you look gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you. I need the black hat next.
It's a 101, man. We're gonna try and make some of these. We've got a lot of shit in the works. This being probably the biggest thing on our mind of late. I think I can speak for everybody here that the token has been very top of mind, for better or worse.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, okay. Also, first off, Brian and John, I'm not sure if we've met, but I'm Dish on Farcaster.
Thanks.
I might already know you under a different, I don't know, handle.
I'm Chamaquito on Farcaster.
Which one?
Sorry, Chamaquito on Farcaster is me.
Oh, okay. Cool. Definitely recognize the handle.
We may have met briefly at FarCon in New York.
Okay.
Maybe at the skate jam.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. All right.
Probably.
Okay. Coming back now. That was a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. And John is No, K-N-O-W.
Oh, okay. All right. Love it. Cool.
Just a room full of
Glad to meet
legends.
you guys. Hell yeah.
Should we go live?
Let's do it.
We are live.
We are.
We're live. Okay. Fuck yeah, we're live. Let's ride.
That was the green room talk.
A little inside baseball. Well, shit, yeah. Any viewers? Fuck yeah, thanks for coming. We're just gonna get into it. I mean, so the post on the timeline. Actually, John, like Cam mentioned, do you maybe want to give Jack a little bit of background as far as what HIGHER.ZIP is, what we're trying to do, what the vibe is?
Yeah, so basically, I think the first summer after HIGHER launched, I decided to do a short meditation course for people if they wanted to, and I got paid in HIGHER. And then if I wanted to realize that value, I had to sell HIGHER. So I was thinking, what can we kind of do about that? And basically talking with different AI models, essentially, and came up with the solution of deepening liquidity to kind of hopefully stabilize the price, but then also directing fees from liquidity to like people who are building stuff for HIGHER. So that's basically how HIGHER.ZIP came to be, is that we formed a small group, came up with a kind of idea for what we could do with fees, and then raise some funds from the community to kind of create a liquidity pool that is permanent, in the sense that nobody can access the fees or access the liquidity itself, but the fees themselves are routed to builders based on like a separate governance contract. So yeah, that's basically it.
Should we do a little screen share of the site with the
Run it.
permapool briefly?
Yeah, do you want to share, Cam?
Yeah, I'll do that. Am I sharing the wrong tab? What tab am I sharing the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay. Let me fix
Infinity
that.
mirror.
Shoot. Okay.
And Jack, also what we're doing here and what a larger part of this site is too, outside of the pool, is just a general platform, a way to broadcast higher in a fresh way that's not just the Farcaster echo chamber. So these kind of two things that we're talking about here work hand in hand.
So yeah, this is a funding mechanism where like we didn't own the LP, but we said, what if we got people to kind of contribute to an LP where it was locked forever, and then the funds that are generated in fees could be claimed by HIGHER.ZIP, which is like an amorphous governance structure. And so here we have like, this is how much is locked in the LP. This is how much we have unclaimed. Our next claim is in 5 days. We could claim it once a week. And then the total claim fees to date. In terms of the governance, it's like, this system that we set up where it's just us four. Our address is kind of in the, I guess there's a fifth, maybe we have 2 addresses for somebody in here. I can't recall. But
Fifth is
yeah.
like a donation to a charity, I think, at the moment.
And proposals to add people things. So we kind of set up a process to decentralize this over time. But I think that the most interesting thing, honestly, that we did is use those funds from the perma pool to do missions where we reward creative submissions that are sort of bounded within some prompts that we set, like create a video bumper, create a looping video, audio piece. And there's one that we're going to actually be revealing today too. So
Yeah,
the calendar.
and on top of that, the missions are like a way to curate and populate the website, the 24/7 stream that we run. So basically, when we hop on a call every Thursday at 12 p.m., it interrupts the 24/7 stream with this broadcast. So idea being is reward people for creating dope shit, broadcast it on this network, and in the future, as things progress, network participants can host their own streams, do whatever they like, and ideally there's an audience that's being built over time.
Love it. So I feel like you guys, like, I guess also like kind of like, excuse me for like not having like complete like knowledge or like insight into HIGHER.ZIP, but like it seems like this is pretty like built out already, right? In terms of like, that in like the original, like I guess like kind of taking it back to like the higher deployment, right? That was the core 4, what was it? Light, Martin, 6, and one more. Forget who.
I'm not sure. Maybe Zinger or Salvino.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah. I feel like it was Salvino. I don't know. Could be wrong on that, but so okay, so that basically in terms of like this HIGHER.ZIP locked LP position, post launch, you guys got together and you pooled funds to lock this LP position. Trading fees. Yeah, I'm assuming that like Comprehend is just like a full range LP position here.
Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Okay. And then using those funds basically to reward the contributors to, is it solely HIGHER.ZIP, or is this like, will like Higher Market, Higher FM, like are all those contributors also being rewarded too?
Yeah, so that is part of. John, do you want to outline that partner structure too, if you don't mind?
I mean, the idea at the beginning was to not be a central governance structure that we like swallow higher market and higher athletics. So we want to encourage them to continue to do their thing, but maybe offer them part of the higher fees that we have to distribute to people who are using their services in exchange for a portion of their revenue to deepen the permapool. I mean, in a perfect world, we imagined like, okay, one day we can hand off this governance to other people who could use this funding from the LP, basically. But we haven't got that far.
Yeah, it was basically to build on that. And John is a genius in his thinking. It is for longevity. Is like this can last forever. Part of the reason why we locked the liquidity is you don't have to worry about some bad actor down the road as, you know, I'm done, you know, I have other obligations. I can't dedicate my time, you know, vote me out, somebody else step in, you know, take the reins sort of deal. And speaking to whatever this migration conversation actually is, that's something that is very top of mind for us. The longevity factor, as well as like pushing for decentralization in the most, I guess, meaningful way possible, an effective way possible. Obviously, it's a very nuanced conversation, decentralization, but that's the fucking goal. You know, that's
For
what
sure.
we don't want HIGHER.ZIP to be, you know, president of HIGHER. You know, we want it to feel like it's open for everybody. So that's definitely one of our key principles in this conversation, you know.
I love it. And I mean, I think like the beauty, at least to me, about HIGHER, right, is that like headless brand, right, where there isn't like a CEO running it or calling the shots, where it's just like communal kind of effort building the brand around it. I forget who posted it. It was like I think like the, you know, like the kind of the Nike analogy, right, where it's like, you know, it's a symbol for something more, which to me like speaks a lot to kind of like what you guys have been building. Everyone really that has like contributed to like the narrative and the lore, you know, in whatever aspect that is. I think that's super powerful. And to me, right, like in terms of right, like a migration, I just want to come in and say like I'm not coming in to like convince you to do a migration.
Right.
I think that this is something that like what, you know, basically like post acquisition, like this is something that like, you know, kind of like we've been thinking about like how to kind of like grow the entire ecosystem. And you know, like I guess it's like in terms of like if this is something that would be beneficial to like the core contributors, like I think that's something that would be, you know, powerful in terms of like having that reset, because I'm imagining that like, you know, when the core 4 launched it, I'm assuming that they had no idea that it would turn into such a powerful movement or like, you know, have this type of longevity. And so like kind of like that's kind of where I'm like kind of coming from in terms of like whether it, I guess like the core question would be like, is this like, and also like part of it is like I feel like the token also doesn't, it's tough, this might be controversial, but I feel like the token doesn't have to like represent the brand or the mission. I feel like that's the biggest disconnect right now with like, you know, tokens in general, right, where like everyone assigns like a monetary value to a project, and like to me, like I feel like that can be like super detrimental, you know, like hurting kind of like the vibes. You know, and I feel like, right, like I think in terms of like the other kind of higher initiatives, right, whether it's HB or kind of like the higher, the HB was the higher like characters, right, the animals. Yeah. So like, you know, in those senses, right, where kind of going back to like maybe like last cycle, like 21, right, where I feel like it's almost like a community, right, in terms of like identity. And I feel like that to me is like what got me into crypto, at least, right? Like identifying with a core group of people that, you know, fuck with each other, they vibe with the same mission. And like I feel like the whole like PvP speculation has kind of taken that out, right? Where now everyone's kind of just chasing profits and kind of refocusing, kind of like going back to, right, like that. I think of like, right, whether it's equity or in this case, right, like token incentives or like, you know, percentage of weighting governance, things like that. Post whatever higher, it has been, it's like, what is it, a year and a half now, maybe 2 years being live.
2 years probably, if I were to
It'll
guess.
be 2 years and later this, like in March or something, we were saying it's going to be the 2-year mark.
Like I feel like that's a decent amount. And in terms of like, I don't know, I was reading through like Colfax your thread, and it's like some people are like, you know, why would you do it? Like, you know, kind of like the momentum aspect. And I don't know, I guess like my biggest, like, I think there's, okay, I'll start with the con, right? Where it's like any migration, Capreni, I'm sure you like, you know this too, but it's like, they can be super messy. I think that launcher makes it super easy. But like anytime that there's a token migration, it's not ideal, whether it's, you know, searching on dexes or wallet balances or things like that, missing the migration timeline. March 9th. It's like, I would say like it's something to avoid if you can, but I think like in terms of, you know, if you do want to do it, right, it could be more empowering in terms of like whether it's, you know, giving the longevity aspect where people are more like inclined to contribute, right? So that's kind of like from a macro level, and I think this applies to like other projects too. Like doesn't have to be higher specific. You know, maybe there's like equity splits in like traditional finance, right, or things like that. But you know, I think it's tough, right? Like, and again, like I'm taking like my clanker hat off here, where it's like this can be, you know, even if it's like, you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but like even if it's not a clanker token, right? Like I think that like like basically like if you want to do kind of like an inflationary token or things like that, right? Where maybe it's not a fixed cap, right? In terms of like kind of that aspect. But it's, I think what we're kind of doing right now is like just, you know, thinking about like the future of tokens, especially like that's kind of what I'm thinking about too. Like, you know, the clinker token itself, like the factory, it's not a one fit like fits all. So you know, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling, so I'll just like,
no, you're good. And that's helpful. And we definitely want to dive into some details about what clanking higher migration would look like. But I will say that we're kind of torn between two, maybe more than two, but I'll just keep it to two scenarios, which is, do you migrate, we'll call it upgrade. Do you upgrade the token in a way that builds out a more robust governance system, or do you upgrade the token in a way that is as simple as possible, which more or less negates all sort of governance? And we're struggling with which scenario feels most genuine to hire and is most beneficial to network participants. That's kind of the tizzy that we're in right now. Yeah, I don't know.
Can I put some concrete terms on it too? There's like LP fees, which are a thing to control. And if we were to upgrade to a new higher token, that's like a central question where it's like, okay, first of all, are there LP fees? If there are, then how is that controlled? Or what Colfax was alluding to, is it more powerful to just say, actually, we're gonna get that as close to zero as possible, basically cut out this notion of LP fee revenue, and then that's it, right? And then there's no surface area to govern on that front.
Yeah. It's a,
Hmm.
yeah. And I know
That's
that
interesting.
I mentioned that to you, Jack, I think yesterday about, I think Ripe was the one that mentioned the idea of just setting the fucking fees all the way to zero. And obviously that's not the best thing for a clanker, but it did pop up, so I had to mention it. And it's a compelling idea.
I actually really like that idea, right? On one case, like first off, right? Like any trader can get in not paying a tax. I think that's really cool. But second thing, right, is like with competing pools too, right? Whether it's like an aerodrome or, you know, external pool, like generally speaking, if this is the most liquid pool and there's 0% fees, in theory, like all of the routes should be swapped through that original pool, which could be cool, right? Like even if there's no like, you know, percentage of, you know, swap fees through that, it could be powerful in its own way. Or, right, maybe there's some aspect where kind of going back to like a traditional token sale where you're just selling tokens, whether it's, you know, 1-to-1, right? One token for $1, things like that. Even like the rest in the bank, something like that. Or I don't know, just kind of like, I guess it's like, then it's like kind of just like hard to like, whether it's, you know, if we're gonna like reinvent like a new narrative, but I feel like that's like the experimentation that like has to kind of happen to like see if it works, right? So
Yeah, the experimentation part is definitely exciting and terrifying at the same time, you know, with a token that's, you know, it's been around for a long time. It was, you know, wasn't very considered at launch. And to your point, the thought at the time, I'm assuming, was not that there was going to be a call with the founder of Clanker and 4 very committed higher individuals 2 years later, you know? So it is interesting. I guess maybe would you want to talk a little bit about the logistics of what this process may actually look like? Say we did Clank and upgrade. I know folks are, and myself included, are wondering like, okay, is the approach like Compreni with upgrader, and you basically nullify the original token and now there's a new one? Or is it like, okay, this is higher classic, it still exists, and you just clank a new token? What sort of process do you think maybe makes sense?
yeah, so the way that I see it, there's probably like 2 or 3 like straightforward paths here, right? The first one, like the most basic, would just be like taking a snapshot of all the existing holders. I'm not, is it a 1 million supply for the OG higher? Whatever that, like that
Billion.
a billion. Okay, so like you'd 100x like everyone's kind of like everyone's supply or their holdings right now to kind of like correspond to that new 100 billion. And basically you could just run an airdrop with that. Well, you know, potentially, right, there would probably be some dilution in terms of, you know, at least that 10% in that original pool that's created.
Do you want to
That would
explain
kind of,
what the dilution means?
yeah, so basically, I guess like depending on how much, right, we could look at like the pools that exist right now, see how much are actually technically unowned. And depending on how much of that supply is in there, right, the goal here is basically to map like users' holdings to the new, right, like percentage of how much token per max supply. I'd say that's the goal there. But yeah, basically like, right, so in the Clanker contracts, it's required to put 10% into the pool to be trading at launch. So like in theory, right, like let's say like the original higher pool, there's 99% sold, right? Like there would have to be some sort of dilution point there. Honestly, like as I'm talking about it right now, it honestly sounds kind of more complex. I would say like Upgrader would be the way to go there. We've seen a variety of like successful launches go through that. And you know, I think there's other projects too, like Barrio, who've done a similar approach where basically you're depositing old tokens into a contract. Those are sold at the time of new token creation, which provides some liquidity to the new pool, and in exchange drops the new tokens to the depositors there based on how much they've contributed. There's other, you know, I want to give a shout out to like Empire Builder too. They have a migration tool. I think there's so many ways to kind of cut the cake here. I would say like, you know, Compreni is like the expert in migrations here. They're tricky. They're definitely like not something that I would just like. I think maybe like one max, and that's only like if it's really required. And I think like it kind of comes back to like, whether it's, you know, to upgrade or to not upgrade, it really comes down to like if like Higher is hitting at like an inflection point in terms of like scaling, right? Whether it's, you know, not having enough incentives for new contributors to come in, or, you know, kind of like growing, you know, the network in that sense, then it could be a viable option to do that. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. And we didn't have you on here to tell us what the right answer is. Obviously, yeah. It's difficult.
I will say I really like the 0% fees and also the mainnet too. Like there hasn't been a quality clank on mainnet, and just I'm waiting for it.
It's compelling. John actually mentioned that, and it really got us all thinking. Like, okay, that's. John, do you want to speak about the mainnet idea a little bit?
Also, more about two things. I have 2 things on my list.
I don't really know what to say. I guess. Yeah, I like the idea of Higher being on mainnet. It's like Ethereum alignment, 0 fees at the same time makes Higher kind of an interesting. It kind of clarifies like, oh, this belongs to the people who decide to buy it, and that's it. People can organize around it themselves if they want. It clarifies for the people who are building around it that they have to go for profit themselves. They can't kind of take some of the fees or have fees or incentives routed to them. Clarifies for creators that if they're creating for Higher, they're creating because like they align with the community and the ethos and the idea of what Higher stands for, and nothing else really. They're not doing it for rewards, or if they are, they're doing it for a squad that isn't the main squad, but have just decided to accumulate Higher on their own account and then distribute it or whatever. I'd be interested to know if we did decide to clank on mainnet, could we use Clanker and have 0 fees? Is that possible?
Yeah, so you can deploy on mainnet, like SDK. You can go through the UI too, like that's all set up. 0% fees, yeah, that'll work too. Basically, what happens there is like it'll literally be 0%. Like there won't be like a DEX fee, nothing like that. Like it'll just be that. So like so isn't so like OINC, right? Or right, comparing like that's like 0.08%, which with the DEX fee comes up to 0.2.
Yeah, the reason I asked my mom.
Yeah, with us it's 0.8% or 0.83 plus the 20% clanker fee. It goes to 1. Yeah.
And then
that's a smart multiplier right there. So you know that could totally be possible. I think it's like I think it really just comes down to like back to like token design, right? I don't think it's like one size fits all. There's kind of like workarounds that we could do that kind of like could be a little hacky to kind of fit that, right? With the constraints that we do have. Basically, it's just I would say it's like the creator vault, right? It's a week kind of lockup, and also just the airdrop, which is 1 day. So like working with that plus that 10% that's required to go into the pool, kind of like working around those kind of limitations there.
Can you say more about the 1 week that you just mentioned?
Yep. So basically, like if you're gonna do a creator vault, these are like basically free tokens given to the deployer. You can actually send it to any arbitrary address that they can claim after 1 week, or someone can claim on behalf of them. We put this in to prevent like just like the dev rugging right off the rip. You know, I think people have kind of gotten around that by doing like a creator buy, which sucks, but at least they're like putting money into it. It's not perfect, right? Because you can do the creator by airdrop. You could do it, right? But that's 1 day minimum. Like I think there's it's not perfect, but we try to make it like as, you know, safe, but also at the same time as flexible as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you guys do a great job, obviously.
Right.
One last question about the 0%. What does Clanker still take 0.2 on top of that if we were to go that route?
I'm almost positive it will be 0 across the board. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's just the multiplier on top, right? So like, for example, like if you do a Clanker token with 2%, the DEX fee will be like 0.4. So it's basically like 0.2 times that 1%. So okay. I honestly haven't tried it yet, or I haven't looked at the code in a while, but like pretty sure it'll be 0 flat.
0.2 times 0 is what? It has to be 0, right?
The goose.
Definitely 0.
My quant just called. He said it's 0.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I think I don't know if anyone's done it, so
yeah, it's interesting that, you know, what kind of the most compelling thing, I think, well, I'll speak for myself, but when we initially considered this Clanker migration was the idea of setting aside a treasury, because currently, I mean, we do pull LP fees. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Jack, but there's the initial party that started, like Party DAO. I'm not exactly sure, but they seeded an LP initially, and it was, I think, definitely the largest, if not one of the only. I think there was some obscure rocket pool as well. And then we pitched to that party to receive the unclaimed fees from that party, which funded the LP that we're now running under as HIGHER.ZIP. So like we have a fee structure as far as LP goes, but what we don't have is a fucking treasury, you know. Like I think that's one of the biggest things that token launches offer these days, and what people actually look for, especially with
Oh my god.
Yeah, crypto projects is like treasury is almost everything. So it's like, okay, what could we do with the treasury? And then we started walking down okay, is this becoming too centralized, yada, 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 into where we're at now, which is like, okay, is there a way to decentralize a very centralized structure? Potentially, but there's still a governing body, which may be the right approach. You know, it depends on what our true goals are. But when we started to consider mainnet for one, I think everybody started to show interest in that. Everybody that we brought it up to. And then just yesterday, like I said, Ripe threw that fucking curveball about 0 fees. And it's like, man, that is really compelling. It is really compelling. And like John said, it does put the weight on the individual or groups amongst Higher to really buckle up and create revenue in whatever way is meaningful. So yeah, it's interesting. Now I'm rambling, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I got you. And I feel like if the governance route, I think, is like, it could be, I feel like there has to be like a steward or someone that's like you know, at least like helping like put out an organization to some extent. You know, and even if it's like, I don't know, like kind of playing around with like, I feel like there has to be like, I don't know, commitment, right? And kind of going back to like, right, the value of it. I think it's really like in the network, right? It's you four right here that are putting on like the weekly, you know, like the streams, and you know, it's a lot of other people that are contributing. So, you know, like I feel like that is already a rich environment. And I feel like it can really like my point about like, you know, reignition. I think it's like you have like there has to be like the incentives to be aligned to really like have that like future commitment and future growth. You know, so like kind of like keeping that. I don't have the perfect formula for it. But having some sort of like whether it is governance or, you know, having like one person being able to like at least like put things out could go a long way.
Yeah, you could. What about, I know you mentioned the idea of bridging. Say we clanked mainnet, you know, but obviously there's negatives as far as composability or programmability based on, you know, cost with mainnet. What does a bridge situation look like as far as building, you know, other things on L2s?
Yeah, I'd say you could, right? You could bridge through wormhole, and potentially spin up another pool on another chain. The thing there, they'll have some price arbitrage, right? And you'll have to provide, whether it's, you know, less liquidity or whatever you want to pair it with. There's always going to be kind of, but I think like the arbitrage bots should kind of like keep it in parallel. But that, I guess, like that's kind of something. Or, you know, I think something that would be cool is like kind of like taking speculation out of it, right? Which could be a benefit, also like a downfall too. But like,
What do you mean?
you know, like I made a dish token like pre-clanker. I was just like giving it out, like basically just like for gratitude, be like, oh, like thank you for it was like a token of appreciation is what I called it, right?
Okay.
And something like that, right? Where there's actually no pool, you can't trade it. You know, I guess like this is kind of goes like against like all of like the clanker technology, but like having it be like a symbol of, you know, being a higher or something like that. So I don't know. There's no point, but
Interesting though.
exactly. Yep. Kind of that scarcity aspect too.
That's
I
compelling.
did want to ask about because I looked at the token structure itself, and it there's like a super chain ERC20. From my understanding, super chain is like the optimism network of chains that includes base, that includes OP. And I've assumed that there's some interoperability there where, like, let's say we clank on mainnet and the primary liquidity hub is on mainnet. Is there a way to using that sort of super chain interoperability, like bridge to base, if people wanted to like do fun things like that might be more gas intensive but are on a cheaper chain, not even thinking about the liquidity aspect? Is that like is that kind of supported out of the box, or will we have to go through like wormhole, or like what's the tooling like to
Yeah.
bridge base?
So
Yeah.
the V4s are super chain compatible. Thing is like it's like only with the super chains, right? World, base, Unichain, op mainnet. But I think there might be some others, but I think like there's not like a, if you're gonna go to another like mainnet or something like that, I don't, at least to my knowledge, I think there's other like bridging tools, but like I don't like in terms of like the superchain. I don't think many projects have even used it. Optimism might even be deprecating the superchain like compatibility. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool concept, but we just have not seen it used that much. But yeah, I'd say like wormhole would be the most straightforward way to go about that.
Got it. Got it. So there's not like a canonical bridge from east to base.
Not that I know of.
Yeah. Okay. Helpful.
I wish. I think it's just like a registry mapping where it's just holding the tokens and minting it on another one. But that's the thing, right? Where it's like I'd have to double check to see if like the token address. I know like the superchain that's compatible, but right, if we're gonna go from mainnet to base, having that token address be the same is something that I'd have to dig into a little bit more.
So on like a high level, from a plan perspective, what sounds appealing to me, at least, is like, I don't want to say it's fuck around and find out, but it's kind of like clank now, figure out later, almost, where it's like, if we can agree on like a minimum set of steps and then just kind of go for it.
Yeah, Vermont's scary.
Because yeah, we've been racking our brains about this for a while. And so kind of what makes sense to me, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it, is like, what if we clanked on mainnet, did like what Dish was saying, where we have treasury vault of whether it's like 90% of the supply or 80% or all the way down to maybe let's consider 50%. I don't know. Some big percent. And then the token launches on mainnet. And we set up a claims process for base holders to then go and claim on mainnet, whether that involves selling the token and migrating the liquidity, or just, okay, the snapshot was taken. Now there's 2 hires. You don't have to give up your old hire to get this new hire. We don't get the liquidity in that case, but to me that sounds kind of like narrowing the decision space to clanking on mainnet, having a vault, and then figuring out how to issue that vault to base hire holders one way or another. Seems kind of like the path forward. Are we in agreement there, or what do we all think?
I'm not sure I understand it. So like there's 10% has to go into the pool on mainnet, and then there's 90% left over to do with what we kind of choose. And then would it kind of like we put that 90% into a contract on mainnet and said, here, now you can come and claim it. And then that just gets depleted by however many people come and try and claim it over like some kind of window. And then whatever is left over, we just say, okay, now this is a treasury, we're going to distribute in X way. Or what's the difference for like the liquidity health on mainnet if we like force people in one direction or the other? If we say, okay, the only way to get your hire on mainnet is we just have this list of addresses, we have a snapshot, and now you come and claim like 1-to-1, versus you have to put into this contract on base, and then only then are you eligible to come and claim on mainnet. I kind of would want to know what the differences between those things are and what the strategy is in terms of using that 90% if it's not all claimed.
Yeah, since we just kind of went through a big decision tree, should we diagram it? Okay, let me spin this up. Yes, sir. Okay, so clank on mainnet, right? And then from that, we're gonna have, let's say 10% LP, all hypotheticals, right? So just for the sake of discussion here. And we're gonna have 90% to the vaults, which is like the clanker out of the box tool, right? Now with that vault, the question is, how does that get distributed, right? there's higher on base, right? So there's two options to passing down this vault to higher on base holders. One would be, let's say, deposit higher and no, just claim, like snapshot higher on base and distribute. I need another shape, right? So that's one, is that we take a snapshot and we say, you're going to get this vault. We're just going to airdrop it to you, right? It's kind of like the airdrop mechanism, but that Clanker has, but let's just say we route it through the vault. So that's option one. Option two is deposit higher on base and claim on mainnet, right? And if you deposit higher on base and claim on mainnet, you get the advantage that you can then take those proceeds. So we could have a path here that comes out that's like, sell that higher and add to LP, right? So then we could go ahead and add that to the liquidity pool here as ETH, right? So I'm going to make these kind of like dotted line because each one is a path that we can decide on, right? I'm not saying these are the only paths, but these are ones that we can consider. So we clank on mainnet. There's some that goes to the LP. There's some that goes to the vault. And then you can either deposit higher on base and then claim on mainnet. If you deposit on base, we get to sell that higher and add it to the liquidity on mainnet. If you don't, then we just say, all right, we're going to take a snapshot of higher and that's the higher on base. And then we're going to distribute it to the everyone on mainnet from the vault, right? Does that kind of make sense? Or is this diagram just more confusing?
It's definitely a bit more helpful for me, for sure.
That snapshot aspect to higher on base is maybe a little bit confusing for me still.
Yeah. So what that looks like, practically speaking, is let's go to higher. No, 1 second.
There's a question from Blank on the YouTube, if I can say it. He asks, what is the biggest difference doing this versus upgrader? Is it just the forced seeding on the upgrader versus having the option?
What is this?
I think the diagram, the flow chart here that we made, the decision tree.
I see. So if we did this step here, this could be powered by upgrader, but it doesn't have to be, right? Because what upgrader does is you deposit and then it sells, and then we just have to route those sale proceeds to mainnet. So it could use upgrader, but it doesn't have to.
I'd say the benefit of like adding that liquidity to the new pool would be, right, since people are going in to claim the new token, if there's not enough ETH in that pool to sell into, kind of toast there. Versus, right, like if you do the deposit, or whether it's through upgrader, you can actually have some of that liquidity in there. But I guess, right, the trade-offs here are that if you do the deposit, it's actually, you have to take an active step to actually deposit those tokens versus the passive method of doing the snapshot.
Yeah. So in the snapshot scenario, it would be
we're still up. Okay.
taking all these holders. I guess Basescan is acting slowly, but like APIs like Basescan show all of the percentage of holders, and like how much higher they have, and so we pull all of that, say, oh, Salvino looks like he owns 2.6% of the old token, so we're going to make sure that he owns 2.6% of this vault, right? And that's a permission process. Like we kind of have to control that. And I think in either case, there's going to be a manual direction on our. It's not like truly permissionless unless you're just to say we're going to clank on mainnet, and you can sell your higher, bridge the ETH over, and go buy it on the new. But that's not a great experience for the existing higher holders.
No, as well as the idea of the vote, like if you're considering locking your tokens as your vote to say, yeah, I fuck with this. I think that's a compelling angle that we had discussed. So it's a decision made by the entire network as opposed to, hey, we're doing this and you can join if you want, or you don't have to. That's up to you. I do like that aspect of there being a threshold for consensus, basically.
So what you're saying is like, let's add a step here. So there's a deposit higher on base step, and then let's say like there's a threshold is met. And then once that threshold is met, like the selling of the old token actually happens. That's kind of like the social opt-in, like almost like consensus. That's the consensus aspect you're talking about.
Yeah, basically, that makes sense to me.
I feel like that could also be good for like marketing, right? And like momentum, kind of like spreading the word to all people. Maybe it's just like, active holders too, right? I don't know. There could be, it could be better or for worse that if some people don't deposit in that time frame, that, maybe they're on vacation or something, but it's, yeah.
I think it'd be nice to have like if once the threshold's met as well, for there to be like some amount of time after the threshold that people can continue to, they see, oh shit, everybody's going to do this, so I'm going to deposit my tokens now as well. So there should be like some window of time there.
Yeah, because I'd be pretty bummed if I lost all of my higher because I was smoking weed or something.
I had a question regarding like the way the vault's distributed. Say Salvino has 2.6% of old higher. Why do we give him 2.6% of the vault as opposed to 2.6 of the total amount of higher?
We can't actually give him the 10% that Clanker LPs or like the liquidity position requires. So like that 10% LP, we can't direct that. And that's the minimum, right? So it only goes up from there. If we decide to do 20% in the LP, then they can only get 80% of the vault.
And what does playing with those numbers mean? Yeah, Callback's same question, basically.
From my understanding, I think that the more that we put in the LP, the more that market will be able to handle sell pressure.
Yep.
Right. Because like let's say we put 10% and then it gets all bought up basically. Then that means that these 90% vault holders can come and dump 10% if they wanted to, and the market would it wouldn't go to zero.
Yeah. Well, so that said, we've been trying to approach, a structure that just continuously increases the LP, is there a reason we wouldn't just start out with the 50%?
I actually think 50-50 is strong, because that means that even if everyone's sold, like, I don't know. I do feel like 50-50 is strong, but then people are accepting that they're getting diluted in half in terms of overall token ownership.
But the percent's still the same, right? Technically, in an abstract way, I suppose.
Well, Salvino would go from owning 2.6% to 1.3% of the total supply.
Right, but proportionally, considering other holders, he still owns 2.6%, right?
Yeah, well, it's like it would only be. I get what you're saying. It's like anyone, like at launch among the existing holders, he would own 2.6%. As people bought the token, he would own less and less, because that 50% that's coming out of Uniswap.
That said, if Salvino is the only person to deposit, we've got a threshold, but say not everyone deposited as well, that 2.6% could also go up, because it'd be the proportion of the amount that's been deposited, I guess, rather than trying to map it to what Basecamp says.
No, that's actually a really great point, because if you look at, for instance, let me share this tab again. Like, this is all the holders, right? There's Salvino with his 2.6%, and I'm sorry, Salvino, for you being like the subject of all of these examples, but there's also, like, one of these is Uniswap. I don't know which one it is. Maybe both of them are, right? And, like, sure, they own 6.7%, but who is they? And will they deposit and claim? No. So actually, you're right, John. Like, not everyone will deposit, because some higher is just locked up in contracts. So that is something to kind of think about as well.
Yeah, Katra asked that in the YouTube as well. Like, if the migration didn't cover 100% on base holders, the remaining higher on base can do whatever they want with the token after that, right? There would technically be two hires.
Yeah.
With the OG higher tanking, right, through this process, the sell-off.
That's right.
So if you don't deposit, the USD value of your OG higher will, in fact, guaranteed be way less, right?
Yeah, because everybody else is opted to kind of move the liquidity away from that somewhere else,
Yeah.
But in a way, it's I mean, you can argue that it's fair, because it's just them saying, I don't value this particular iteration of the token anymore, so they would have been selling it anyway. Plus, if we try and communicate as broadly as possible and give them that window after, okay, actually, it looks like I was contrarian. I didn't want to deposit, but now it looks like consensus is everybody's going to deposit. If I want to be able to hold my value, even if I won't like the next token, as soon as I get over there on ETH, I'm going to sell, but at least I'll recoup more than I would have if I'd just stayed stubborn and not deposited.
Yeah, I'm understanding. The alternative, or not alternative, another thing to consider is and I know Cam, you had talked about this in the past, but for anybody listening, the locked LP of the perma pool, what becomes of that? Is it just null and void?
I imagine it would be.
Yeah, basically, I think what will happen is basically the ETH will drain out and the token will go back in as people sell into that base token there.
I saw that.
Okay. Sure. I'm here.
I guess the decisions that need to be made in my mind are like, if we push forward this, what is the threshold that we're like, okay, this is enough consensus for us to say we're going to sell the higher that's been deposited? And the other thing is like, what should be the percentage of the LP size on Ethereum? And I don't know how to make either of those choices, really.
Me either, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the tough part, right? Maybe there could be some. I like the idea of like depositing as like, you know, showing your skin in the game. Maybe there could be a step before that's like, are you yay or nay? But I don't know. It's almost like, I don't know, experimentation or kind of.
Yep. And to that point, Jack, there will be, I'm assuming, very robust conversations on the timeline before any sort of decision is made, you know, because we can't make the decision, right? And that's why the locking really makes sense as far as, you know, deciding what progression actually looks like, because then everybody gets to decide. That is truly the most decentralized way, I feel like, to approach this. But yeah, I think conversations will be had no matter what.
I think that's the beauty of it too, right? Like beauty by design, like people will talk about it. And, you know, I think maybe something could be said to be like, you know, could this be a case study? Have there been other, you know, examples that we could kind of model off of? But I think it'll really, like, from my perspective, right? Like, I think it'll show like, I don't know, like reinvigorating, or, you know, at least like talking about the token, right? Like any type of like discussion around the token is probably healthy, even if even like people decide like it's not, we don't want to migrate, right? I think that would be super powerful in itself. So
absolutely, yeah. Maybe everyone's just like, fuck no, and that's it, and we just move on. Totally real scenario.
Yeah, I think like one thing to consider about like the migration would be like, right, like what would happen with those, like, let's say like the new tokens, right? And like having like a plan for like that, you know, the plan for it, right? In terms of like rewarding contributors, or, you know, I think that would kind of like go a long way too.
Agreed. What is that? What does that manifest as? Does that walk you into a governance structure as well, though? Basically,
what do you mean by like rewarding people with those tokens? Because in my imagining, like the token will be fully diluted as following migration.
True. Yeah, there might actually be no leftover token to kind of have as the treasury, which potentially, yeah, could complicate things. But I did not, like, I feel like at least, right, like let's assume that those like top two holders, like that 11% right there, like potentially that could be the LP, right? Like even that 1% is newly minted for that, you know, that rewards, or yeah, I guess that's like kind of the balance that like is important to like kind of figure out.
Yeah. Yep. And Jack, I just wanted to let you know you're free to hop off at any time. We go for like 16 hours on these streams, so
really, I love it. No, it's a good time. I feel like it's like we're in like a meeting room right now.
Like I said, love this. We're just trying to solve literally every problem that exists. So strap in for as long as you want.
Love it. Yeah, no, I'll stick around for a bit. I gotta take the dog out in a minute.
Cool.
I think one of the things I want to do, even on base before we got into this conversation, was to introduce some kind of like allowing people to stake their tokens, just so that people who maybe like higher market can say, oh look, rather than offering a discount to people who are just going to buy 100,000 higher, buy a t-shirt and then sell the token, maybe we can reward people who have staked or have showed some extra commitment via staking. So maybe if we did set up like some kind of, I like this idea of the walkaway test where we just deploy a staking contract and say nobody owns this anymore, but anybody can throw tokens at it, and anybody can kind of like reference it. That would be a place where we could say, okay, if we do have like this leftover token, something that could go there. I guess if there's any treasury, there has to be a governance structure around how that treasury is used, basically, or some kind of something. It's that would be a centralizing thing.
Yeah, because it's probably unrealistic to develop some sort of smart contract. Seems like insurmountable. Is that the right word? Insurmountable.
I'm going to go back to this diagram and say, like, I'm going to add an optional step, like, so what you're saying about a treasury was also kind of discussed. I think you brought it up, John, in the context of the vault. Like, what if people don't claim? And so we could have a step here that's like, let's add, users claim on mainnet as a step. And then we could have like another thing be like claim window ends. And we could say that that's like in 1 year or something, right? Where it's like not any urgency around it, but just like do it. That could be something. And then if the claim window were to end, then maybe that goes to governance or something like that. Surplus. Although I don't know if that would necessarily make sense if the users are actually explicitly depositing the higher in exchange for that 90%, 80%. Like, so maybe this is actually a moot discussion because they've already kind of like given up the financial value. So they should be entitled to it indefinitely. Yeah, maybe let's nix that. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. We're thinking out loud here.
This is live, baby.
I think the question was from Jack about like, well, how do things keep going after this happens? I guess is maybe the question. Like if after it's fully diluted and it's on Ethereum mainnet, what are people supposed to do? Which goes back to like the very beginning of HIGHER, really, which is like you're supposed to do what you want to do and find ways to route that value to the network. If you're using the HIGHER IP as a kind of generous thank you. And I guess what I think is we can make it easy for people to do that. One could be like a contract that automatically deepens this zero fee liquidity. You just send tokens there, maybe it spits out an NFT in return, and you've got like proof that this is proof of alignment. I sent this number on this date of ETH, and everybody's welcome. Or you have like this staking contract where you have all these addresses staking different amounts of HIGHER, and then you allow people to I don't know, say we then decided, all right, HIGHER.ZIP's going to continue and we're going to be streaming on Zora and we're going to launch a HIGHER.ZIP coin. What we're going to do with our HIGHER.ZIP coin that becomes like vests to us is we're going to drop it into this staking contract. So everyone who's staking is going to get some of this HIGHER.ZIP coin. And what we're going to do with the fees from the HIGHER.ZIP coin is drop it into this LP deepening contract. So actually what we're doing is we're going to take some for ourselves because we're now operating on a purely like We're going to operate for profit, but at the same time, we're also going to be deepening the LP, which means all holders earn some, and then we're going to be privileging stakers via whatever methods we set up there. And then then it's all about cultural behavior at that point. It's all about like, okay, we're setting a norm. This is kind of what revenue generators who are higher aligned do. They do this and that. And then other people can make things up themselves. Like recently, the touching grass, that mini app is just accumulating higher. And I think that's cool too. And if touching grass wants to stake that higher and get rewards from other network participants that are dropping tokens onto that staking contract, then, you know, that's how they can remain connected to the network. Or, you know, the different people can choose different strategies at that point. But it will kind of like the people who are most generous will be the people who kind of keep high going. Like that's kind of the only way. They've got to be generous with their time, and then, or generous with their energy, and then hopefully it flows back to them in some shape or form.
So it kind of becomes like a generous or like gifting culture kind of becomes like the spiritual and economic through line of higher. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think like the cultural behavior of prioritizing network aligned network participants is kind of like the thing. Like the network is the most valuable thing. It's like, oh, Cam's actually been doing something for the higher network for ages. Like fucking definitely getting a free hat when I see him at Farcon. Or I'm definitely gonna like link you up with this dev that I know who is like deep into I don't know, ZK or whatever. You know, that
This call is sponsored by Doritos. Sorry. I just
Thank you, bro. Clip it.
It's a different form of resource sharing, basically.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that approach. And there may be a scenario, like you said, I think specifically in the scenario where we, you know, launch mainnet and no fees. It's just pure as fuck on mother chain. Who's to stop anybody from, like you said, HIGHER.ZIP token? Okay, we think this would be a good revenue stream and we could work with this token. We have plans for it. Launch HIGHER.ZIP token, Higher Athletics token, yada, yada, market, this, that, and the other. Maybe it just opens the door for that in a way that in the past felt like a vamp attack. Now it's like, this is just kind of what you maybe should do. I don't know. But I also really love the simplicity of what Ripe talked about, which was just no fees, just hammer the meme, you know. That's also really compelling. And do that in whatever way makes sense to you. If it's Higher Athletics and it's running and we're aiming higher, fucking great. If it's, I don't know, any other third thing, just hammer the meme. Just look at, you know, if you go to mainnet, you're putting yourself next to Mog, Rect, SPX, Punk Strategy, you know, etc. And it's like, well, most of those aren't products and they're not generating revenue, but they're just slamming the meme home and building a community around this thing. And ours is an arrow, and maybe that's just enough as well. I don't know. Because at the end of the day, hey, I think we're all just going to continue doing higher.zip regardless of what happens. We haven't made any money. You know, it's like we've been unprofitable for a year and it's been fun, you know, and obviously not everybody is going to have the time or ability to do that for a year without pay, but I think there'll be enough people that kind of move the needle in a meaningful way.
It is kind of nice how there's that, like, what is it, 13% or so, 14% still in the Rocket Swap and Uni V3 pool. So like that could kind of align nicely, where even if it is just that 3%, it looks like there's a few holders that have like 4%, or at least just random accounts. I don't know,
Okay.
but
Well, why do you say that's nice, actually?
well, because it aligns nicely with that required 10% in the Clanker LP, right? So it could be that close to, you know,
Like a 1-to-1.
even if, yeah, where no one's getting diluted a lot, or, you know, I think the bigger issue would be, right, if there was like 5% in a pool, right? So
Okay, I'm understanding.
so like minimum, right? Like the DAO or the, you know, caretakers, whatever, could have that extra 3% to play around with for whatever.
Sure. That makes sense. Okay. What else, gentlemen?
Well, I guess
Anything on top of mind?
the only thing I guess that comes top of mind to me is the argument as to not migrate, right? Other than like the ethos of mainnet, of being on mainnet, right? What else would that kind of like, I guess, unlock for the higher network, if anything at all?
Is Higher listed on Coinbase?
It's a good question.
Brian, basically, like I've simplified it in my head in two ways. That the Clanker migration conversation that initially kicked all this off was compelling, in my opinion, for treasury reasons. If there was no treasury to be considered with an upgrade, it's maybe a moot point outside of like a very minimal reorganization, and maybe not worth the hassle. So treasury for one. And if you're not doing the treasury, maybe you just don't migrate. And it's fuck it. Just stay the course. And then it started to get compelling with the idea of mainnet. The great escape from base. That's compelling. And if you don't like mainnet, if you don't want to be on mainnet, if you don't think it offers, you know, the things that you believe in, then definitely don't migrate. So it's like treasury or mainnet are probably the simplified reasons that you would consider migration. And if those don't align with your values, then totally fine, you know. Let's not do it.
I'll also just throw in there that LP fees were a consideration, but in the post-ripe cast world, seems like they're not.
Fucking ripe, dude. What, he said three words that just blew our brains up? This guy's a genius.
I think there is an aspect of like a weightlifting off of our shoulders where we're trying to act as stewards, and people kind of, you know, look to us not just for our efforts, but because we do have a financial interest in the token trading, right? More so than the token succeeding in terms of market cap. We benefit when the token trades, period. So
yeah,
I think kind of this like one-shotting that notion that that's actually a good thing or not is helpful, because it turns out it hasn't been helpful for us.
God damn it.
Because yeah, like Jack, just as context, I think we're sitting at like 30 to 40% of the LP on Uniswap is the perma pool. Like we've built decent liquidity there. The reality is that the token just isn't trading enough to power meaningful coordination around a pot of money.
We're operating without fee revenue already, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not losing much if you go with 0% fees.
Plus, I feel like I can
You can see what's been claimed on the higher.zip website.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's getting filet mignon.
I mean, I think that like there's got to be other ways, right? Like if the goal, right, is to, I think there's like different places, right? I think like what, Clanker and, like all these token launch pads, right? Like the trading fees are good, but a lot of these projects, it's very short lived, right? Where you get maybe your burst for maybe a month or two, windows down, it's not sustainable, which sucks. Like that's where I'm like thinking like there's got to be other ways to like this trading volume. Like that can't be your only source of revenue.
Right.
I think it's great for like kickstarting an idea, right? You can see if like you can get that initial funding, maybe it'll pay for your server costs, but it's unsustainable for it to be your full, like your full revenue source.
Totally.
So, right, like in that sense, if you're not looking for the trading fees, I think and this is like, right, the open question. It's, if it's not the trading fees, what is it? I think for Higher specifically, it's the people and the contributions in the culture. And, if we can, there's a way that we can at least help, like, provide better assistance to contributors than what we have currently. I think that's like what it kind of boils down to. Whereas if the current token is kind of like, handicapping, a way to kind of reward people, that could be the thing there.
I think one of the things that's attractive about launching a zero fee liquidity pool on mainnet as well, in terms of like, in terms of supporting people to feel like they can be part of the network and build on top of the Higher IP, is that at the moment people maybe have this that in their minds like, oh, they're trading a token which fees are going to these people. It's going to the Rocket Swap pool owner. It's going to the Higher DAO, right DAO, and that's not doing anything. And it's going to HIGHER.ZIP, who I don't know what people think of us. But like when you remove all of that, then there's confidence that, okay, if I'm going to do this, it's kind of, I can do it without, they're not open loops in my head about like, what am I contributing to? Like I'm contributing to this like clean thing that, there are people who believe in it and I'm joining these people who believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the cleanness I like about the new liquidity. I think, giving confidence in a weird way, it's like we're not giving confidence to people through new incentives or more like reasons to earn money. We're giving people confidence in terms of like, there's a purity to what it is that like, if you want to get involved, you're going to have to be making revenue yourself anyway. The treasury is also unsustainable. In the same way trading fees are. So if it's going to work, it'll work through people building businesses and then routing value to the tokens in some shape or form, either through privileging holders, privileging stakers, or deepening liquidity itself. They're the three things that I think that people can do. Maybe there's more. And I think it opens, someone could set up a contract like where they just want people to burn Higher tokens. Like just, people can do whatever they want at that point. Without worrying about there's this central people who are making me do this particular activity to earn treasury. There's this particular government that want me to do this particular activity to earn some ETH fees. It's cleaner, but it's also a bit more open, like jumping off a cliff.
I was gonna say, I really like your point about like actually not managing a treasury, because then you have to be kind of the gatekeeper to say, put a value on someone's effort, right? Whereas like I feel like that's just complicate things. Right. So maybe that delta of tokens that are not in the LP or whatever, let's just say it's 3%, right? Versus that 13% that's in the base pool versus the 10%, or you put the 13% in the new pool too. And therefore it's similar. There's nothing to manage.
Yeah. I'll speak for myself, though I feel like it's not very controversial to say this, but I don't want to be governor in the governance contract, like it just feels wrong in Higher specifically. If I launched my own token, yeah, I'm the fucking boss. But in Higher, it's like, no, I don't want to decide what gets money. It's actually scary. It's fucking terrifying. I wrote a couple things. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. I wrote a few points based on the zero fee mainnet, which it was based on what does it truly mean for the future of Higher. And one, erases hierarchy. The Higher network is truly decentralized. 2, it anneals the incentive structure and meaning behind being Higher aligned. 3, individuals and groups within Higher are responsible for funding their respective projects and or generating necessary revenue. No fees. 4, incentivizes core contributors to buy and hold the token as an investment in themselves. And I think that last part is maybe more beneficial for the token, for it to be you investing in yourself, buying and holding it. I don't know in practice if that's actually true, but in my brain it starts to make sense. But at the end of the day, well, I won't say that last part. I love you. Higher, bitch. I mean, Chatra specifically, but also Cactus at this point too. Like he proved that, okay, I can make something and sell it and profit and give the network a cut and win with HBs. It's like perfect. It's done. There was no fee revenue involved. He did something sick with Higher IP and made money. Everybody loved it. It's like it doesn't negate the fact that you have to do something cool that resonates with people. Like consensus is kind of the currency there. With the fees, it's like, oh, I did something. It's like, great, but nobody gave a fuck about it. Like, I'm sorry, nobody cared. So how does anybody decide how much money you deserve? It's like it's a weird structure. It's like, just let the people decide to give you their money, like how the world works. And, maybe it's just smooth.
What do people think about staking, and what do people think about deepening liquidity as a goal? Like in this new paradigm, assuming that we go to like zero fee liquidity on mainnet, the question in my mind is like, why would you deepen liquidity or choose to donate it like off your own back? I guess the only reason you choose to do that is if like there were those unquantifiable benefits, like or maybe they are quantifiable, where higher markets, like anyone who has one of these deepening NFT liquidity NFTs gets X something. But it'll always be like other people in the network rewarding people for something they can see that they've done. But yeah, the basic question is about staking and deepening liquidity.
You could look at deepening the liquidity from the framing of like paying for IP in an abstract way. It's like, I use this IP, which is Higher. owned by everybody, but I used it to make money. So it's a trust-based scenario at that point, but that's maybe the way I would frame it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know any other way to frame that. It's like a I love you sort of thing. Thank you, up arrow, here's 10%, so that the next guy that invests in himself by buying this token can sell it without nuking the chart. And that's a little bit why it maybe starts to make sense at initial launch to just goose up the liquidity to a level that makes sense. Obviously, someone smarter than me may know what that level is, but it's like that was kind of the idea, right? It's like believers hold this thing, but I don't want to sell so that your money is worth less than mine, even though maybe I need money. I don't know if any of that made sense.
Not until
Yeah.
Tuesday.
I think the thing with making the liquidity deeper, like in that inorganic way of just like saying, okay, now 50% is in the pool, is that it's almost like we didn't earn that stability. And also we may benefit from the fact that there are people peripherally or in like wherever that want that volatility. Like they want to feel like it will go higher. And maybe that's why some people still enjoy the token. I think offering options in terms of like the direction of the token in the future is nice. That's why I like the idea of this send tokens here and it deepens liquidity. That's a choice. There's a staking contract. That's a choice. Do you want to reference that staking contract? That's a choice. These are choices, and I would lean towards trying to keep the structure of liquidity as similar to as what it was. And then if we are able to deepen liquidity through creating a culture that wants to deepen liquidity as a thank you to each other, then that's cool. And that's kind of what I would, shoot for. But I wouldn't want to just deepen it straight off the bat. Maybe that would dampen the energy.
Fair. Okay.
So we're basically like, all right, we're going to be the most glorified meme coin.
The least profitable meme coin.
But like, it sounds like where we're arriving at is like any structure is kind of orthogonal to the success of how Higher would succeed, which is like a sort of cultural, not engineered phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
It's about promulgating the meme. And so, yeah.
It does, though, throw a wrench to your point, Cam. Like, maybe 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the idea of Higher being maybe most impactful in person, like IRL, like what we can do with community in person is probably more approachable than any other token, really. Maybe there's a MOG event that happens, but it's like I feel like Higher is better positioned for things like that. With the zero fee structure, it does definitely hinder maybe that angle of things if it is a real expense to host shit. You know what I mean? That would be maybe my one hesitation, because the structure we were talking about beforehand like rewarded folks for setting up events and things like that. But it's still just convoluted when you consider that structure as well. I err towards simplicity almost to a fault.
Anything that is shared should be unowned, or like, yeah, that's what I think. Like a staking contract should be unowned. It should be some deployed once, and people can reference it and use it if they want to. And then that becomes a tool for if businesses want to come in, or if someone wants to build a business, they can use that tool, but it's not owned by anyone. That's the kind of way I'd think about it. It's just like I'll have to do the speed run Ethereum.com and try and do it myself, or get Claude to build it for me in the future. Maybe Claude will be deploying smart contracts of all kinds, and they're actually secure. And this opens the space for people to pick and choose where they like what they do with the higher tokens. I don't know. I don't see it as pure meme either, though. Kind of like, I think pure meme doesn't fully service what is possible if we go this route.
Agreed. Okay. I think we're at a good point. I feel like for any folks that are watching or did watch, they understand kind of what's been bouncing around our skulls for a couple weeks. Unless there's anything hot still to banter about.
The calendar.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That would be a great finisher, actually. There is one more question on the Trenches chat about how projects would get grants, which effectively with the migration, there would be no grants at all. And the complexity behind that, or the potential complexity behind that, and like people who have ideas that maybe require money, or people who maybe don't have the money to get those ideas off the ground. My inclination towards an answer for that is like the rules of capitalism, kind of just like you kind of have to start somewhere and do something. And waiting on a grant maybe is not the way sometimes.
Or you go to a VC and then you siphon some of their cash towards higher.
Yeah, crowdfund, literally, like there's many other, I guess there would be other avenues, I suppose. I don't want to be harsh about it, but that's kind of, my thoughts.
Realistically, yeah. Otherwise,
I mean,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you could have like sniper fees, but that's like a one and done thing. Like, if you did want to put on like a 2-minute window or something for that initial launch, but that couldn't sustain funding for a bunch of projects. But anyways, guys, I gotta jump.
Jack,
But thanks for having me on. Appreciate you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Of course, thank you.
All right. What a fucking legend, that guy. He's
Real.
He's good people. I'm trying to pull up this freaking list.
Calendar time, baby.
I'm a
Excited.
little bit unorganized here.
Should I talk about the printing?
Yeah, you
Vector?
should, if you don't mind.
I don't know if that's a legit category that we could talk about, but just kind of, I guess, updating on what the move is on that. Seems like we're leaning about going towards a printer here in New York. And the biggest reason is because it really widens and opens up the possibility of what can be done on a creative aspect to the physical booklet itself. They can literally print on anything we ask them to print. They can create perforated edges. They can do perfect bound, saddle stitch bound, and spiral bound. So it really kind of casts a wide net of like what we want the design of the actual thing to be about. With, I guess, the main impetus for those questions was one idea we had kicking around, which was like each calendar image would have essentially a perforated edge so that the image itself could be printed or could be maybe frame or hung as a print independent of the calendar. One of the downsides of having a calendar in the first place is that once a month is over, you're kind of like done using the calendar, obviously, but this opens up the possibility for each page being essentially an art print. So yeah, that's it on printing.
I think it's fucking beautiful. I think this is going to turn out sick as hell. Actually, I think it's going to be amazing. And there are more than a few of these that I will look forward to hanging up on the wall. Okay. I'm compiling. Should I open them all, or should I just say the names?
I think open them.
I would love to see them as well. I haven't been on the.
This is actually Compreni's first time seeing, so the reactions are real.
They're real boys.
Fakes. That's dangerous though, because if there's a bad, there's not going to be a bad one. But.
No, we only picked bangers here. I will say though that we have picked a few individuals more than once, which was not necessarily our intention, but honestly, what we did was we just picked the submissions that we thought would help make the dopest fucking higher calendar, and that's that. Okay, I'm opening some. Stall for like 20 seconds.
Also, the main idea that sparked this was that this year is going to be the year of the horse in Chinese calendar. So
Huge.
It was very appropriate for that.
Yeah, the fire horse.
The fire horse. So, I mean, the idea really became a no-brainer after that. So it made sense to pursue on a serious level. And then, the other aspect is to be clear on like, there was obviously, we talked about this idea back in December before the actual year started and everything. But to be fair, the Chinese New Year doesn't start on January 1st anyway. So we're still well within the window of releasing this calendar before the actual year of the fire horse.
It's in February, right?
Yeah, I think it's the 6th or something like that. Or
I think it might be the 17th.
17th. Yeah.
17th.
Yeah.
Correct.
The year of the fire horse only comes around once every 60 years. The last one was in 1966. And fire horse people and fire horse years, I guess, are generally thought to have the following traits. They're energetic and independent, strong-willed and sometimes rebellious, passionate and adventurous, and can be difficult to predict or control. So yeah, strap in.
Fucking yeehaw, boys.
Wow.
That was gorgeous. All right, I'm going to share real quick. Window. If I can figure this shit out. Entire screen. How about that? All right, let's see.
Got to close Pornhub. It's still up.
God, that made my heart skip, dude, honestly. All right, kicking off with Cactus. Gorgeous. So,
Look at those eyes.
man, come on. Just maple eyes.
Wow.
And that's one thing that we haven't considered yet is month organization for these, by the way. Okay, proceed. Blank space. Come on, man. Come on.
So good. It makes me think of Spyro the Dragon for some reason. I'm like, oh, it's just like within that world. Grand Theft Auto vibe, even like, it's amazing.
Also GTA vibe, which is hilarious. Infinite Orb.
Ooh.
Gorgeous. Fire Horse. There was actually
Fire Horse.
There was only a few that really embodied the fire aspect, and this one hit.
Wow.
Well done. Maybe my personal favorite, I might have to say. Just legendary. It's so, and this might have been one of the first ones that we received too. I could not vote. I could not vote for this.
Yeah, for real. I was hesitant on the fact that it says codeine, and like for some reason I was trying to be like family friendly and be like, oh, let's only pick. But then I was like, why am I trying to be family friendly with this?
Same thing I thought. I was like, that's maybe not a pro. And I was like, no, that's fucking awesome.
So,
Yeah, NF Threat, legend. One of our very own. No.
wow. Is that in Buckingham Palace?
Fucking may as well be. Look at the texture on that.
How did you manage to get a horse in Buckingham Palace?
Did you have help? Legendary.
Stoic.
Chatra. This is one of my tops for sure. The vibe is just like so unique and emotional.
Yeah, with
What
the
does the Japanese mean on the right?
I'm not sure. We'll have to ask him.
I'll ask chat right now. Yeah.
He did put it on all of his submissions. So
Maybe it's like a brand mark.
it's definitely meaningful to him, I'd assume. But yes, this is just like this is one of those that I'm definitely gonna rip out when I'm done with it and probably frame it.
it says higher, but like
No way,
in
bro.
the phonetic way of which I forget if that's I forget which kind of Japanese that is. A kanji, is it, or
Katakana.
Anakana? It's the one that just sounds like the English word. Yeah.
God, it's good. Well done, Chatra, as always.
It's pronounced high hiya.
That's fucking awesome. Oh yes. And another one from our dear Cactus. Like, come on, man.
That's the hook?
It's a cinematic. Yeah, that's the hoof, bro.
Wow.
Like, this is straight out of a movie. You know what I mean? This is like, yeah. My God. Yes, heat. Aomijin is how I'm saying this. Sorry if that's wrong. But I love this interpretation of the horse. And it's just at battle. You know what I mean? Like,
Clearly just destroyed a couple pawns. Yeah.
Standing proud.
Yeah.
Black and
Looks
white.
like a bishop knocked down behind it in the back.
Got the bishop too. Nisha would be proud of this one. Yeah, well done. One of the more unique ones, actually. Yeah.
It's like a fairy fire, which I love. It's like fire, but still like whimsical, not destructive as fire typically is.
Yes. And I don't know how to say her name. I've always just skipped over the X and said Randir, but legend as well. Has made many things for hire in just such a casual, calm way. It's, yeah, well done. Thank you. And then another one.
Yeah.
This.
There was a level of, I guess, curation when I picked mine where I thought if a stranger walked up and saw this on someone's desk or something, I was picking images where they'd be like tempted to ask, like, what the hell is this image?
Yes.
You know? I think this one and the DJ one were both are like one of those where I use that lens to like curate it. I was like, oh yeah, if someone saw this that had no idea what higher was or what anything was, they'd be like, what is this calendar? Where did you get this calendar?
Right. I love that framing, actually.
Yeah, that's a great
It's a
idea.
three-legged horse.
No, it's just right behind the other one, see? Yeah, I definitely was drawn to like this, looking back through these, definitely this like cinematic feeling. This gave me like a David Lynch vibe almost, which I found to be really attractive. Cactus, GG.
Cactus showing up hard for this one.
I posted that one twice, sorry.
So nice, he posted it twice.
That's right. Come on, dude. Come on. This is like, yeah, that's gold. goals. I feel like this is goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is awesome. I love this one.
Dripped out with a little rolly. Come on. King of the castle. All right. That's a wrap for us. Oh, sorry, my dogs are about to freak. Well done, everybody. Fuck yeah. Like, we had a great turnout. I think we had 76 submissions. A lot of them were from, not a lot of them, but a fair few of them were from repeat submitters, which was also dope. I feel like some folks just could not stop, which is exciting. I feel like that's kind of what we're trying to inspire with these missions. So, like, it felt good to see that, just slamming submissions out. Yeah, well done to everybody. Thank you. And look out for that calendar, baby.
Do we have a price point on the calendar yet?
We don't, unfortunately.
All
We
right.
don't. Ideally, the goal here would be that the submitters get like a legitimate discount. If it can be free, we'll make it free. It may not work out. We'll see. But that would be the goal, you know. Obviously, they'll receive a split of 300K higher, which is dope. But yeah, we'll just keep everybody posted on that because we're still in sourcing mode.
I got a hedge fund on the phone. They're looking to invest. Calendar. Let me know when it's
Hang up.
updated.
I think one of the things which may be important to think about is that I think as so far in the process right now, I guess we're thinking about it as kind of as like a art object. So like small print run, things like that. This is not something that like we're gonna, as so far yet, we haven't thought about like producing hundreds of these at all. This is going to be like a 30 to 50 range of like editions.
Mhm.
So it will be kind of like we're aiming to do like a higher end project here.
Yes. First come, first serve, really. You know?
I think this is our first HZip artifact output, because I know that you like Polfax. I think you worked on some merch. Brian, I don't know if you did too as well. I don't know who here's. I know some of you guys have worked on merch. This is the first thing that we'd actually be producing, and yeah.
Which is cool. It's cool that this is the first one. It's like it's a keepsake. It says a lot about the community. It's gorgeous. I don't know. It's as opposed to just like another hat, you know? It's like, this is fucking cool. So yeah, I'm proud of everybody. It should be dope. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll have this out soon. But yeah, thanks again. Legends. What else, gentlemen? Is that a wrap?
Might be a wrap.
What a great time today, actually.
Best call yet. Best call yet.
I think best call yet.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
One of the calls of all time.
A little bit of content, a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, good. And thanks to Jack.
Lucid chart.
Yeah.
The chart, the C words. Yeah.
My God. Well, gentlemen, shall we have a good day?
Awesome. Good stuff, guys.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Higher bitch.
Someone say it. Higher bitch. There it goes.